Thank you very much, Mr. Sinha. You have actually raised some very interesting points, which I'm going to ask my panelists to cover. As I said, fraud is a very broad area, and some of the high-value frauds can be very few and far between, but they really hit the bottom line of the bank. But the day-to-day frauds in payment systems, cards and internet banking can be very troublesome because they reduce the trust of the customers in banks' payment systems, and the uptake of the electronic interchange becomes lower, which is actually one of the objectives of not only the regulators but also of the government in reducing circulation of currency notes and black money in the economy. So we are looking at big issues, and I was very empathetic when he was saying that there are problems like delayed trials or lack of attention by the policymakers in creating the right infrastructure. And this we see everywhere, not only on the government side, but also on the bank management side also. You would be seeing some challenges in getting the right investments done and working collaboratively together to really ensure that the problem is solved. As is very apparent, we have to bring together people, process, and technology to really solve security problems. And there are already some forums which work on payment security. India Payment Risk Council is a forum we have been running for the last many years. There are some very interesting fraud trends which come up and go away also. RBI has done a great deal of work in ensuring that the controls become tighter, and fraud numbers actually dropped in the last 3 years, which is a good news. But we are seeing more sophisticated attacks coming up. And before I proceed, I would like to get all my co-panelists to have their say into painting the picture, fraud picture, so to say, and share with us what they think are the top 3 problems according to their perspective. And we have a panel which comprises of Bharat from NPCI, which is an industrial body. We have Mr. Dr. Onkar Nath from the information security side. We have Ms. Satinder Kaur from the fraud prevention side. And we have Mr. Shinde from solution provider from protection side. So I would request all of these panelists to provide their inputs in 3 points, not more than that.
Good. How to start? See, advancement in technology has a lot of benefit, what we have seen in couple of years, and especially in telecommunication and the payment system in last 1 decade, where we were earlier and where are we today. But at the same time, the devil side of technology and flaws in technology people are using nowadays. And in last 2 to 3 years, earlier, probably the skimming and account takeover or identity theft were not known to us as what we see every alternate day in the newspaper. So fraud is, it is not something going to come, stay and go. It is going to be there for longer time, because the advancement in technology is taking us in such a stage where it is just difficult for us to come back and go back to the old era. We will have to go with the advancement of technology. So fraud will going to remain, but at the same time, how deterrent control, and Mr. Sinha rightly said that how deterrent control we can implement in the system. So let fraud be there, but the damage or the early warning signal can be set early. So the damage can be controlled in a possible way.
Right. I think the point is well made that we cannot go back to the old way of face-to-face banking and very secure transactions, because we are looking at actually the bottom half of the Indian population, where we are talking of biometrics to help us in ensuring micropayments and empowering the people to build profiles and then get access to better credit facilities. So payment systems or even banking transactions are going to be the way to achieve this, and there's no getting away from the fact that when there is a transaction, there is always a risk of fraud. So thanks for sharing that perspective, Bharat. Dr. Onkar Nath, what do you see are the 3 top issues from you?
Yeah. Good afternoon. We are in between your lunch and the rest period. 3 challenges. First thing, I will go to the fundamentals. the bankers, they are not the technology people. So there is a lack of appropriate technology which is going to provide the protection or the security. Because the technology which is provided for the business is different from the technology which is coming for the protection. So it comes as a patch. We don't know that which patch is going to work for which type of threat. So many such type of patches we are going to add. And finally, what is going to happen? You are going to get a large number of dashboards which are working in isolation, and you are not able to correlate that one. So you are not going to arrive at certain conclusion that which threat is going to hit you. So there is a lack of appropriate technology which is going to provide the protection to the financial system. Second one and most important thing is that so far, the lot of innovation has taken place into the technology, but there is no framework developed, technological framework I am talking about that, which is talking that with this framework, the financial transactions should take place. For the convenience of the audience, I will give the example. The 90% transactions are taking place on the basis of the password. Password was developed in the Berkeley University just to track the internet uses of the students, not for the financial transaction. Still it is happening. We are talking about the different two-factor authentications. No, mobile is another. SIM cloning is how common, you understand that one. No, and mobile is not for the two-factor authentication. So why not the regulatory or the law of the land framework is going to provide that only these things are going to be permitted if you are going to practice the financial transactions. That is not happening. Due to that, lot of if and but is there in the implementation and lacking is there. The third aspect is that the awareness. So due to the cost factor and the convenience factor, these two factors are going to join together, and they are creating chaos for the banking and financial sector. No? So due to that, what is happening, that technology comes as a business process, but protection comes as a patch. So you are going to get a good software which is going to enable you to complete the transactions. But along with that, you are not going to get a good door which is going to protect your house, the assets inside the house. This is the problem what we are facing. These are the three things what, according to me, is a challenge in today's scenario with the banking and financial sector. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a very interesting perspective from a technology point of view. So if I can summarize what you said, one is complexity, lot of different things to look at. Second is regulatory clarity on what is a secure transaction. And recently I had an occasion to attend a conference by the certifying, control of certifying authorities. And they were very keen to push digital signature certificate as the way to ensure that there is no non-repudiation as well as authentication of transactions. And I think especially for corporate customers who can very well afford to put this kind of technology, it is something which we may see coming up soon. And of course, the last one is the change of pace of technology itself, which all of us know from the way our kids come to us and talk about the every new topic every new week. So I think this is something which is going to impact everybody. And thanks for pointing this out. Satinder, if I may ask you your views.
Mr. Sinha has actually taken us through, what are the kinds of frauds that happen in the banking industry. But just because I'm on the prevention side and we see a few of them, some of them may be a repeat. One is on the credit card and the debit card side, of course. We see on the internet piece, we see a lot of this phishing and wishing which happens. Partly it could be because, as Dr. Nath said, that it could be because of, the various technologies that we use for authentication, but it's also got a lot to do with the customer awareness as well as the awareness of the employees of the organization. So this plays a very big role on how people actually get fooled into the whole, into the fraud. The other piece which is coming up and, which we all are seeing is the skimming. It's, the skimming that happens primarily at the ATMs, and that's a little more physical in nature also. So, to find the right technologies to be able to prevent skimming is another challenge which we will need to face and sort out in the next few days. On the retail loan side, actually, if you look at the secured loans, etc., the frauds I feel have now, because of the ease in making the KYC documents, it has all moved to what happens on the property side of papers, etc. So what really happens is on the home loan side, since we don't have that kind of database where the property can actually be checked, multiple financing as well as duplicate documents are the kind of frauds that one sees in that area. On the unsecured side, one sees frauds like, which are set up kind of frauds where, a person makes a reference of another, or a kind of a company set up and multiple people are able to take loans. So the kind of frauds that are happening, of course, as mentioned earlier, would be kind of by name similar in nature, but the way they are happening and the modus operandi being used by people is different. But at the end of it, the whole, of course, we depend upon technology. But what here I would like to add is whether we are able to see things in a single window. For example, there is this multi-channel kind of information which is available, and whether the person who prevents it is able to see it as a single piece. So if an address change and a transaction is able to be, are we able to see that together? So those are some of the technological, requirements that banks will need to adapt to prevent and detect frauds.
Right. So I think, as you mentioned, probably the threat of skimming attacks, I think, is very, very potent, because as you will recollect, the number of debit cards far exceeds that of credit cards, I think by a factor of 10 at least. And these cards are vulnerable to skimming attacks at the ATMs. And typically the monitoring systems for credit cards are much ahead of debit cards. And this is a risk we will continue to face going forward. And cross-channel attacks. I mean, we are seeing change of demographics through phone banking, and then getting a card delivered and cashing out of ATMs and so on. So there are, of course, technologies which will cover these multiple channels, but how quickly they are integrated into the existing infrastructure, it remains to be seen. So I would request Mr. Shinde to share his points of view from a technology service provider's point of view.
Yeah, thank you. I belong to a different community, that is antivirus community. Here bankers are here, law enforcement people are here. I'm from antivirus community, that is, I'm having technical background, but these are being used as a tool. So banking Trojans are very specific kind of malwares that I can see, specific threat to the banking sector, where online banking users are getting targeted by malware writers. Last couple of years to 2012, 2013, was a year of banking Trojans like SpyEye, Zeus. And we have seen, interestingly, we have found some malwares, online banking Trojans on mobile platform too. And it's very easy infected with such Trojans. And if they are getting infected, we have prevention technologies with us. I'll give a little example of ransomware. You might have heard about CryptoLocker. The year 2013 was, a CryptoLocker year. In last quarter of year 2013, it has created a big news in, everywhere. You might have read it. That CryptoLocker is a ransomware. It comes to your system. It encrypts your important data file, and it decides, on the basis of file type, and it will leave you a message where it will ask you to go to that website and pay up to $600 US to get your data back. And with some timeline given, because what was happening, like antivirus people were detecting the sample, which is, as it was highly obfuscated, so detecting samples in some period of time, but deleting the application, the files, the data files on the system were encrypted, and you have to give them a ransom to get your data back. They have started a web service in the cloud service where you can ask for, customization, where I need some files only so that I can pay this many dollars and give my data back. They have used all the best money transfer methods that they can, just like Bitcoins or some other, e-money services are there. So they're using that and they're really making good money out of it. And still they are active in the wild and they're doing. So this threat landscape has completely changed. See, in 1986, first IBM PC virus got discovered, and this is almost 28 years now, and the threat landscape has got changed tremendously. And it's not the only thing that at the negative side, people are changing and evolving, and we guys are the old 90 guys. We are also evolving, we are also coming up with the innovations and advanced technologies.
Right. So, I was recently reading a paper by a famous security researcher. His name is Ross Anderson. And he talks about security and economics together. So his theory is very simple. He says, the incentives have to be created to ensure that security is achieved. Now, what happens is in a world where the faults of one particular entity are the impact is on the another entity, there is a mismatch between responsibility and then accountability. So his theory was very simple. He says that it is fruitless to train users to know about security because technology has become so complex, as Mr. Omkarnath also said, that it is not anybody's capability to understand all the threats and take care, especially a home user who has very limited time and resources to devote to it. So he says that we should leave the problem to law enforcement because either there is a loss in a particular attack, rest of the people should just ignore the attack, and if there is a money moving, then the law enforcement can follow the trail and nab the beneficiaries and the perpetrators. So he says actually rather than spending billions of dollars on antivirus and so on, I am not trying to run down your company, but he says that the effort involved in preventing attacks is not commensurate with the benefits because people who are going to fall for the attacks would have fallen for it anyway, irrespective of the fact that 99% people are protecting themselves. But it would be worthwhile to strengthen the law enforcement. So on a serious note, I wanted to ask Mr. Rajvardhan. In UK, we see this model. There is a plastic card crime unit, which is funded by the industry, and it is a unit which is within the UK police, and it only focuses on card frauds, and the cost is borne by the industry. So it's some kind of a collaborative partnership. Do you see any such potential here, whether this kind of thing can be tried here?
We are trying to strengthen our cyber unit by adding more wings to it, like mobile forensics, for example. So if the industry can come forward and increase our capacity technologically also, spatially also, so that the number of cases which are being reported are so large that we want to decentralize it, not to keep it only at BKC. So that the people in various parts of Mumbai need not come only to one center to give their complaint. They can go to their specific regions. So if industry can come forward to help us in training, in giving us the technology and wherewithal, then definitely it will help, at least in Mumbai city, to better investigate, give quick results, because I believe that as per the recent RBI guidelines, if there are petty credit card or debit card frauds, then I believe that the onus also lies on the banks to an extent. That is what is given to my understanding. So if we partner on that, because it involves both the stakes, and law enforcement agencies will definitely like to come forward and look at this, because it is going to increase in future, it is not going to decrease.
Sure, I think that is something we can probably keep in mind and work on. I want to ask Bharat about industry level measures which can actually have a lot of impact on fraud. And quick sharing of information is something which I think is key to containing damage. So Bharat, would you like to say what NPC has been doing in this regard?
So first I'll talk about the regulation. Sir, you said that our judiciary system is taking a lot of time, but our regulator is very prompt. And the first point which you asked that why we are giving by default international card. On the 28th of February 2013, RBI has come out with a circular that bank cannot offer by default international card unless until customer wants. And even customer wants, then you need to define a particular threshold limit. Let's say $500. He can transact up to that level. So regulation side, it is already taken care. Secondly, NPCI as a central umbrella organization for retail payment system, we have implemented in-house tool which take care of all the transaction coming to NPCI, which is all interbank ATM transaction, then check truncation, mobile payment transactions, our own card scheme which is RuPay. So all transaction taking place as ATM or e-commerce or at the point of sale, all transactions are coming to NPCI, and all transactions are being rated against all possible fraudulent trend. So the moment transaction hit to our switch, we rate the transaction whether it is genuine or fraudulent. So, and then only we pass it to issuing bank. So it is issuing bank taking call whether this transaction has to be declined or approved. So technologically, yes, a lot of investment is made by us, and on top of that, we are giving that service as free of cost value-added service to all our member banks. And I'm happy to share that in last 6 months, we have around 35 plus cases we have captured using this tool. And out of these 35 cases, 50% of cases was purely captured by NPCI bank. Even the the bank which got their ATM compromised, even they were not even aware that that is a tool which we have implemented. Third is our diversity is our India's one of the signature mark. That similarly, fraudsters are also using diverse techniques. Skimming is one good thing which is now almost known to everybody. Very recently, that Bulgarian who installed a skimmer at police headquarters, there is a spurt into skimming cases, especially in Mumbai. We got around 35 ATM compromised in last couple of months after this incident happened. So that is clear-cut case that when they came and installed first skimmer in Mumbai, after that they have sold to local people, and those local people are making use of that skimmer and installing at different ATM. But at the same time, whatever technology is there, technology has its own limitation. The new trend which has come very recently, that they are using glue stick. Fraudsters are using glue stick, and they're making your keypad defunct. So unless that the glue is removed, you're not able to do the transaction. Now in that case, technology is not going to help, because the card is genuine, the PIN code is genuine, and the customer was there at the ATM. So even you have ATM clipping, it is not going to help. So at the same time, with technology, there is a need to focus on customer education as well. Unless customer is educated, technology is not at all going to support in all kind of transactions.
Right. I think the point of customer education is something which is very important, and though customers cannot be bombarded with too much of information about all kinds of frauds, but some very easy to use tips can always help, like a glue stick attack happening, then probably a round of intimating that modus operandi is something which can be done. I would like to ask Satinder, because I think their team does a lot of customer education initiatives, to share a few ideas on this and what their experience has been.
I just missed the last part of your question.
I wanted to ask to share your experience on customer education, because ICICI does a lot of customer education. So what is the latest that you see in this, how effective, which channels are, and so on?
Awareness it needs to be looked at in general. So when we talk about customer awareness, one of the first things is the employee awareness, because it's a large part of the population who actually interacts with the customers, and if they are the people who are aware of what is happening and what they need to do and not do, then they will be in a better position to deal with the customers. That is, the key starting point of what we do, and we keep informing our own employees on an ongoing basis. So we have certain training modules. We also have emails which go to the employees, as well as, actually face-to-face trainings. Now comes the second part of customer awareness. Of course, as many of, I think almost all people also do it, is it's not large messages which a customer would read and specific messages, but small snippets which can actually be going on an ongoing basis. So it's a small message which can go on a statement which the customer receives, message, and in many cases it is a message along with a transaction confirmation. So it's like, your account has been debited and something else. So primarily SMS and email are used as the customer awareness tools, the posters that are put up at various places. So I don't really see very different methods of informing customers or making them aware, but at every interaction, wherever possible, a message which goes, we feel that that has an impact.
Yeah, and I am reminded of a very interesting experiment done by a bank in, I think, Italy, where they realized that customers simply delete whatever comes by way of messaging, which because they don't feel that it is going to happen to them or it is useful to them. So this bank actually sent out phishing mails to its own customers. And then the customers who responded to these mails were told that, look, this is the kind of mails you will receive, and this was our mail sent by us only, and you have not suffered any harm. But you may receive similar mails, so don't fall for these in future. So this goes to a very interesting part of learning theory, where there has to be a teachable moment to the customer, and that moment needs to be created at times by saying that, okay, look, this is where you went wrong. And I think there are these very interesting and advanced approaches which also can work in customer education, provided somebody is willing to hang the neck out and not worry about regulatory backlash on this. But coming to the kind of advancement we see on the negative side, we saw a very large attack happening last year, which was a flash attack involving two separate instances, but totaling $45 million worth of fraudulent ATM withdrawals. And when the details, whatever details are available in public domain, it appears that service providers who were processing prepaid card transactions were breached. Now, the point of interest for us, of course, here is that these processors, though the banks were in the Middle East, the processors were in India, Pune and Bangalore. So this is something which should make us, all of us, think whether it will happen to Indian banks, because Indian banks also outsource, or the same elements of vulnerability are there in the infrastructure. So how is it that this kind of attack can be prevented in future? And are we really, comfortable on that? I would like Dr. Omkarnath to answer this.
Thank you, sir. Well, you are referring to the flash attacks. But before that, I will little bit add to the customer awareness part that the one fundamental thing we all forget, that data transfer is a money transfer. No, data exchange is a money exchange. So when data is transferred from your account to someone other's account, still the customers ask bank, where is my money? No? So you have to understand there is no difference between the physical cash and the data which is there in your account. Once the physical cash is exchanged, your ownership is going to change. After that, you don't have the ownership on that. Similarly, the data is going to change the state, the ownership is over. If with that concept, the technology is going to be implemented to protect, then it is going to have a success. No? But it's a question of innovation, how much innovation is going to take place, how much customer is going to have awareness of that. It's not today the phishing is happening. If you'll go to the epics, the Ram was also knowing, Sita was also knowing, there is no golden deer like of thing, but still they fished. No? That is the scenario. So well, coming back to that, the flash attacks, as far as the business process is concerned, I don't find, I have studied both the cases, and interestingly, our government agencies were not able to get the complete logs from these two agencies. I had a discussion with the Director General, Mr. Gulshan Rai, and we are in the last month only, 14th and 15th, we are having a long discussion on this particular topic. That both the agencies, they have not given the complete log to the Indian agencies. However, they are shared the same information to the US auditors. So that has happened. That is another breach which has happened against the regulatory compliance. Well, there is no compromise with the business process. Where is the compromise? Compromise is that when it has been outsourced, one bank has outsourced the services, again it has been outsourced to someone else. And that is a mandatory requirement that you have to outsource, because technology is, hardware is not yours, software is not yours, the communication lease line is not yours, so it is bound to be outsourced. And that outsourcing activities has been done from the remote side. So it is the third party which has from the remote, they have compromised, and it is a whole group which has worked for that. So most important, the preventive aspect which is required to be looked in is don't allow the remote access for the maintenance or any other purpose in your intranet environment, because you are opening a big door and you don't have any control over that. Because you are monitoring your transactions, you are not monitoring the maintenance. I don't find any, maybe 1 or 2% companies, they are monitoring the maintenance activities, otherwise it is not monitored. So that time, whatever is happening, that is not going to be monitored. Another thing, the most important aspect is that your application must be in such a way that it should not accept the backend data updation, whatever the reason. Whatever the reason is going to be there, backend data updation should not happen. Otherwise, application should throw the error that inconsistency in the data and it should not run. Because this has happened due to the backend data modification into the data. The limit has been changed not through the application, it has been changed directly into the database. This type of things, the most fundamental aspect is the segregation of duties that has not been taken care there. Remote access that has not been taken care there. Third thing, that lot of innovation is taking into the technology, but no innovation is taking place in the preventive measures. No, adaptive authentication, I remember, I am using since last 21, 22 years back. I was using that one. When I was doing my research, that time, rather 30 years back, that time I came to know that this type of technology can be adopted. No, that time we were working on the supercomputer Cray. My research was done on that. The cloud, today we have come to know about the cloud. No, when you are outsourcing, 2-3 organizations, they are having the same services, that's also a cloud. How it is going to be different from the cloud? 1989, the first ever the large scale cloud was used by the Cray 2. That was the news that time. Now, not today. When we are getting the OTP on our mobile, what is this? It is not bring your device. It is also you are use your device for the business transactions. So bring your device is not bring your device. In my terminology, in a lighter way, the bring your disaster. No, that way. That technology is not made for that. We need the systems or the protection system which are going to commensurate with our business processes. If it is not going to happen, if it is going to happen in an independent way, then there will be a problem. One last, I know the paucity of time is there, one important point I want to make it. We need some organization which is going to test the technology. In America, you know, there is a NIST, which is testing the technology and which is telling that this technology is going to be obsolete. You see the triple days, 1976, 2000 itself, the Regendale algorithm came AES, that is also going, another experiment is going on. Still DES is going on in ATMs. Offset value generation, since the ages, it is going on in ATM. Why that is not going to be compromised? So there must be continuous need for innovation in the protection technology. If that is not going to happen, then businesses, they are going to suffer. Customers, smaller customers, Mr. Rajvardhan was telling that they are not able to take due to the lack of infrastructure. But 100 crore for a businessman is equivalent to few thousand rupees for me. That is my complete salary of a month. No, his complete earning of the month, that is going to be at par for me. I am a retail customer. So that way, if you are going to see that one, then the protection technology must commensurate with the business requirement. If it is, that is not going to happen, and it must come bundled. It should not happen that this is his problem and this is my problem. It must come bundled with the business applications. Till the time this is not going to happen, we are going to suffer this type of problem. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So that was interesting to identify the factors which led to that breach, and I'm sure a lot of work is hopefully happening on protecting those. But we have heard of something which is as insidious, called the advanced persistence threat. And though it was probably demonstrated in case of Google and RSA, which are both technology companies, and probably the asset which was being looked at was more information than money. So I had a question for Swanand, whether advanced persistent threat is a threat for banking, firstly, and if it is, then what can be done about it?
I'll be covering it in my presentation about targeted attacks and APTs. And APTs are nowadays it is common term. Means 5 years back when Stuxnet came in picture, then it was a big news that some kind of new malwares on not malware rather, some new technical term got evolved called as a advanced persistent threat and wrapped up. Previously, there were advanced malwares like with capabilities, rootkit capabilities or bootkit capabilities. Even in some of the cases, having most advanced technologies in keeping their presence stealth. But APTs, yes, definitely it is going to be a threat to any industry. And as this is age where cyber criminals are running behind three things: money, more money, and more money. So definitely this is the sector where they can drain lots of money, because running behind common man won't get good money out of it, or committing mass attack won't make them successful financially. If they want to be successful, they'll be definitely targeting the financial sector. But here, I would like to come to your point that in preventing the things, how antiviruses do prevent, in one conference, one gentleman asked me a question, was how safe payment gateways are, how secure payment gateways are. So I asked him, is your machine having security software installed? Because transaction starts over there. If you're losing battle over there by giving your credentials to the keylogger, then if state-of-art technology is deployed at gateway, payment gateway, you're losing battle at your machine itself. So the story starts over there. So I would like to share one important experience with you. One day I was just observing one of my friend was doing online banking. It's not a good habit to stand behind and look, but just I was around there. So he was disabling antivirus protection. XYZ antivirus was installed on his system and he was disabling it. I asked him, why you are disabling it? He said, boss, if I don't disable it, I'll receive an error that session expired. So my transaction won't get completed. From where he got this information, I don't know. From where he got this awareness level. If this awareness level is there in the user itself, we'll talk about, talk about technologies and all putting at the infrastructure that we have in the banking sector. But if the user is doing such activities, technology won't help much. Education is a key to success then.
Right. I think we covered a wide range of issues, and it was by design that I wanted to touch upon the many aspects of fraud, the fraud problem. But I think it's time to ask the audience to have their questions posed to the panel, and if there is any mic which can be circulated. Kindly stand up, identify yourself and the organization you present, and the panel member to whom you want to address the particular question.
Hello.